So, I'm an ordinary guy, man. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I have my failures, my foibles, the things about me that some people may look at and say he ain't worthy to be a preacher. Well, they didn't think Jesus was either.
That's right. That's not for them. That's not for them to judge.
Right.
Now, because a lot of people, they don't know this.
Right.
Some do, some don't, depending on who's watching. But at some point in your life, you had a drug addiction.
Right.
Speak on that. And I mean, it's big, and I want people to know that, because from where you're at and where you come from, they need to see that, hey, you're no different than them, and if they're there, they can come from that.
So actually, once addicted, always addicted. I'm in recovery. So hi, I'm Horace. I'm an addict. My drug of choice was cocaine, eventually crack cocaine, but I also was cross addicted. I would drink a fifth of Chivas Regal a day. My addiction at its height was probably worsened because, I had a relationship with Billy Paul and other professional singers, went on the road with him, and they had money, and, there were women, there was always drugs, and the best cocaine you could ever find. I snorted cocaine for probably 5 or 6 years. It wasn't until I freebased cocaine that I really went over the top. But my addiction, Lavish, was rooted in my age of 16 when my mother, at the age of 43, died. She had a massive heart attack. I stood over her as they tried to literally massage her heart and bring her back.
Wow.
And during that week of mourning, a lot of my father's friends, and I tell people, don't do this, gave me alcohol. Said, take this, you'll feel better. And so at 16 years of age, I developed this notion that somehow or another, if I medicate, then I can take the pain away, that I won't have to feel what I'm really feeling. And so for the next, 14, 15 years, one form of another. And it was always exacerbated, always got worse when I was in conflict or crisis. I would go periods of time where I didn't use, or I wasn't, abusing, although people say if you use, it's an abuse. But I wasn't doing it every day. Wow. I wasn't, losing cars, homes, and whatever. But then when things would happen that I couldn't deal with, then I would go into binges. In fact, the last binge before I went to treatment, I went through several $1,000s, found some of my father's checks and wrote checks and cashed them at this market over on Trumbull. And true story, man, I had a Lincoln Continental was paid for, and I had my title in the car. And a gentleman who's now dead, who was the road manager for Supremes, we used to get high with Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin and, all those people. And I had spent about $3,000 one night, on 8 balls and cocaine, getting high. And 8 o'clock in the morning, the money was gone, the drugs was gone, and he asked me if I would sell my car for an 8-ball. Took me to the payphone on Milford and Whitewood and stood out the car on the phone, said, man, yeah, he'll give you 8-ball for your car. And I had 1/8 of a tank of gas and my title in my hand. And I think God spoke to me, said, now, if you do this, you're gone.
Wow.
It's through. You're not coming back. Wow. And I looked at this guy begging me to sell my car. I drove my car to Pontiac, Michigan on 1/8 of a tank of gas, Lincoln Continental. Pulled up in front of 34 Cherokee where my sister lived, and her husband was the chief of police, Reginald Turner. And when I got to the house, the car cut off and ran out of gas. I went inside, told my brother-in-law and my sister that I had a drug problem, I needed to get help. Next morning, I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and I've been clean now 33 years.
Oh, man, that's a blessing. Yeah. Won't he do it?
He'll do it.
He'll do it, man.
And let me tell you what's so strange.
Goodness gracious.
There was a white woman named Sarah Gentle, and she had on all white. She looked like an angel. When you go to treatment, they give you phenobarbital to take off the effects, so you sleep 2-3 days. And I woke up, here's this beautiful white woman in all white. I thought I was in heaven, I thought I died, And I'm crying. She said, what's wrong? I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do if I came here to get help and it doesn't work.
Okay.
That woman, Sarah Gentle, who's dead now, bless her heart, actually helped save one of my family members. said to me, said, Horace, I've never met a person yet who got up in the morning who asked God to keep them clean and meant it that ever relapse. And she taught me a prayer: eliminate the mental obsessions, eradicate the physical cravings, and make the thoughts of using drugs and alcohol a thoroughly distasteful proposition in Jesus' name. I prayed that prayer every day for 33 years.
Man, that's a beautiful story.
First thing I say when I get out of bed, Lord, eliminate the mental obsessions. See, you think about it before you use it.
Okay.
And then when you use it, it becomes physiological. People don't understand. Well, how you just make up his mind? No, it's in your chemistry. It's in your blood, man. Your body craves it. Man. So anyway, yes, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. I'm not ashamed. I think the passion that I have for living, the desire I have for helping people is all rooted in the fact that I've been given a second chance. God has blessed me to overcome something that friends of mine who did it with me are dead, but I'm still here. I stole from my father, man. And my daddy came down the treatment to get me. And I'm almost going to cry, man. He stood in that room and he thanked those people. Only time I saw my dad cry, that and when my mother died. And he told him, I just want to thank you for giving my son back to me.